I bullied the wrong girl. Hello, my name is Kathleen, and I don't know about you, but I enjoy school. I get straight A's, and a lot of people tell me that I'm lovely, and a lot of older boys in school want to take me to the prom. I would say I'm the most popular girl in school, which is great because it means that I can boss the other kids around. They all want to be my friend, so they will go out of their way to help me with everything. Then there's Sally, who used to be one of my elementary school friends, but she's now such a nerd that I'm not sure how I ever became friends with her. She's always reading and has never had a boyfriend. She still attempts to talk to me now and then, and I'm like, do you know who I am? When I told her to leave me alone last week, she started crying. What a jerk. There's also Daisy, who I cannot tolerate because she's the only one who gets better grades than me. It irritates me that she always gets A pluses. She has no right to be better than me. She never raised her hand in math class, but the teachers appear to adore her regardless. Last week, the teacher asked a really difficult question. I knew the answer immediately, so when I delivered my answer, I raised my hand before the teacher could even speak. This is one smarty pants. Daisy girl just looked at me and apologized, saying, I'm sorry, but this isn't the correct answer. The correct answer should be yeah, blah, blah, blah. I couldn't believe she embarrassed me like that in front of the whole class. She would pay for this after school. So I sat and waited and decided to give her a scare just to put her in her place. I started following her home and decided I had to show her who's the boss here by jumping out at the right time. I managed to sneak ahead of her and hide behind a tree. I was about to spring out and show her who's the boss when she suddenly vanished. What had happened to her? Then I realized she was standing on the step outside her door, looking at the tree outside her house. Why wasn't she entering? I heard her scream, and I didn't know what to do, even from behind the tree, as the door opened and her father grabbed her and she flew inside. I could hear her dad yelling at her, telling her she needed to walk home faster if she wanted to go to Ivy League school. I could hear her crying. I'm not sure what hit me, but I felt awful. What was I doing? This girl was under so much stress that it's no surprise she always received a plus because she had no other option. I went home that night feeling like a worst person on the planet, a bully no better than Daisy's father. I needed to change the next day at school, so I waited outside her locker and apologized to her for the way I acted when she corrected me in class the other day. But she just nodded and walked away. I observed her sit alone at lunch every day, so one day I went to sit next to her. When I approached her, she shrank away, and I realized she was terrified of me. I was in a bad mood all the time. Why had I been treating people so horribly, especially Daisy, who had such a bad home life? I sat down across from her and smiled as I introduced myself and strung up a conversation. The next day, I brought in some cake that my mother had cooked and shared with her. Over time, we became friends, and one day I summoned the nerve to inquire about the bruise on her wrist. She started crying, and I hugged her and told her everything was fine. We will figure out together. I drove her to the school counselor's office and waited outside while she informed him about her family's problems. Daisy began going to counseling sessions once a week, and the counselor ultimately invited her parents in to address what was going on. I was there for Daisy the entire time, and by the end of the term, we were best friends. I still regret judging her before I even knew her. I had no idea the demons she was dealing with at home. In fact, I never picked up on anyone since that day when I followed Daisy home. And I even brought Marvin a coffee and decided to go on a date with him. It wasn't fair of me to pass judgment on him based on his appearance. We actually got along so well and had such a good time that he now frequently hangs out with me, Daisy, and even Sally. We reconciled, and I'm overjoyed to have her back in my life. The truth is, no one deserves to be bullied, since you never know someone's true story until you get to know them. So, to be polite, what are your thoughts on the story? Please feel free to leave your thoughts and stories in the section below. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and like the video. Hello, my name is Queen, and I'm having an issue. When I was 8 years old, it all began. Every Friday night, my parents would force me to go to bed earlier than usual so they could have a movie night alone. One night, I begged them to let me stay up with them, but they refused, claiming that the movies they watched weren't suitable for children and sending me to my room. I couldn't understand what they could be watching that I couldn't, so I decided that no matter what, I'd find a way to watch their movies. I didn't like secrets, and I was also just pretty curious. I stayed in my room like a good little girl and waited until the house was completely silent before sneaking downstairs and grabbing their laptop before returning to my room. I didn't want them to wake up, so I plugged my pink headphones in, and luckily they had just clicked pause and shut the screen down. I replayed the movie and pressed play, my eyes stinging from staying up so late waiting for them to go to bed. But I couldn't take my eyes away from what I was seeing. It was about a kid who could see dead people everywhere he went, and this ghost would hunt him. I watched until the end and then ran downstairs as quickly as I could to return their laptop. I'd never been more terrified in my life as I was that night, fleeing back to my bed, unconcerned whether my parents awoke and found me. I just didn't want the ghost to find out who I was. I was so scared the next morning that I clung to my mom for the rest of the weekend, afraid to go anywhere alone. But as the week progressed, I found myself craving for feeling of fear. It's like going on a really scary roller coaster or diving into a swimming pool. I just wanted to do it again and again. So, the next Friday, I borrowed their laptop and went through my father's movie collection in quest of more disturbing films. Yeah, that night I watched 2 movies, one about a psycho murderer and the other about zombies. I couldn't breathe while watching them, but I didn't mind because I loved the feeling. After that night, my parents went on a camping trip and my cousin came to babysit me. I was overjoyed when I noticed my father's laptop in his office. I told my cousin I wasn't feeling well and went to bed early, but I ended up staying up all night. I was terrified of going to the bathroom, so I just went straight to sleep. That morning, my cousin arrived to wake me up, and I was going to get out of bed and join her downstairs for some pancakes. She noticed 2 wet patches on my pajamas and came out laughing as she moved away from me when I noticed one. I overheard her addressing me as EVPP. I was so ashamed that I ended up peeing a lot in bed in the weeks and months past. I was so afraid that my parents would find out that I decided to keep a bucket under my bed and use it if I needed to pee after dark. I also became terrified of the tiniest noise. Once my mother called my name, I actually screamed. I think they think I'm nervous and weird, but despite all of this, I cannot stop watching. In reality, I'm 12 years old and still addicted. I know it seems foolish, but I don't know how to stop myself. So far, I have managed to keep my fixation hidden from my parents, but I'm losing friends. They no longer ask me to their sleepover parties because I always end up needing to sleep with the light on, and one time I peed myself at Tessa's house, and now she won't even speak to me. But I don't know what to do now that I know it's bad for me, but I still find it fascinating. We have a huge school trip coming up shortly, and we'll be sleeping in a woodland cabin. There's no way I can back out now that my parents have already paid for it. The problem is that half of the horror movies I've seen are set in woodland cabins, and none of the females want to share a cabin with me because they're afraid I'll be on the bed and stink up the place. Please assist me. Have any of you had a similar experience? I'm well aware that I need to put these scary films on hold. I just don't know how to put a stop to it. Please share any advice you have with me. I despise feeling like a coward, and I despise being referred to as EVPP. What are your thoughts on the story? Please leave your thoughts and stories in the comments area below. And remember to like and subscribe to our channel.